It's Powerback time on the Gutsy Podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. I was standing in line waiting to board my next flight as the passengers from the previous flight began to exit. I observed as some people scrambled to find their suitcases, as some ran to catch their next flight, as parents looked around to make sure they had all their kiddos in tow, and then there was a businesswoman that caught my attention. She calmly got her suitcase and put her laptop bag on top and began to walk past me as I noticed the logo of her company embroidered on her shirt. This happened to be a Fortune 500 company, and in that moment, in just a brief split second, my entire body said, "You're going to work with them." No chaos, no questioning, just certainty. 2 years later, and I just wrapped up a virtual keynote to 1,000 of their employees. Today's Powerback episode is about the power of trusting yourself and how it can lead to your greatest opportunities that you didn't even know existed. I want to start this episode out by acknowledging that every single person experiences intuition, an inner nudge, a knowing, a calling. Like, you know, when you get that feeling or that sense, every single person experiences it differently. There might be some similarities. There might be some like, oh yeah, I can feel that too. But you have to get to know yours. Like, I can't tell you what your intuition feels like. I'm going to give you some things to help you understand it, to help you sense it and to work with it and strengthen it. But ultimately, you've got to know what it feels like to you. When your body is saying, hey, I need you to pay attention. And sometimes that's towards good things and opportunities. And sometimes that is saving you from a world of shit that you don't need to go down through. Sometimes we trust ourselves and things work out incredibly. Sometimes you trust yourself and it takes you through a lesson. It doesn't necessarily mean that you chose the wrong thing. It just means that you needed to gather something from this situation to take along with you. It's arming you with knowledge, with power, with resources, with a connection, information. So just know that if you've ever trusted yourself and you were like, what the fuck? It doesn't mean that you messed up. It just means that you needed to gather something for where you're going. Let me take you back in time a little bit. So at time of recording, this was 2 years ago. I was going on vacation to meet my best friend in Florida. So we meet up in Georgia and then we fly down to Florida together. I'm fairly certain that this was my flight home. Like, after we had separated from the first leg, she was going to her respective house. I was flying back into DC. This was the flight. And I know that I was by myself. I know that it was busy. And I know that the flight that was coming in that we were supposed to get on was running just a little bit late. And they had limited space in the overhead cabins. So they checked a lot of the bags as you were getting on the airplane. So we lined up on the boarding bridge as the passengers were coming off and waiting for their luggage so they could exit. So this is where that whole kind of like observing what was happening and seeing people getting off. And there were some people that were running late because they had connection flights. So they were running. There was some parents that were looking for their kiddos. And then this businesswoman literally just caught my attention, not for any particular reason. I just happened to notice her. There was something about her energy that I was drawn to. And she grabbed her suitcase and just gently put her laptop bag on top. And she was taking her time, but moving along. As she started to walk past me, my eyes were just completely drawn to the polo shirt that she was wearing that had the company logo that she worked for embroidered onto it. I recognized the logo. I recognized the icon. I knew the colors. And as she got just a little bit closer, I confirmed that yes, this was indeed CBS Health. That's good branding, by the way. Recognition. When somebody can recognize your logo from afar, that is good branding. As she began to walk closer to me and then ultimately past me, I don't know what happened in me, but it was like I blanked out for a hot second. And I just got I call this hear feel because I hear it, but not in words, and I feel it, but I can't really describe it. So I call it hear feel. I just felt a phrase that said, "You're going to work with them." Now, at this time, I had not even officially gone full time as a speaker yet. I was in the literal middle of the sale of the agency. I was getting some things in place for my speaking gigs, but it just like everything was very piecemealed and not clear yet because I was in such a huge transition point. So logically, that seemed ridiculous. Like, I don't have my shit together at this point. Why on earth would CVS Health hire me to speak to their team? But honestly, there was just something so calm, so direct, so sure about this phrase that I didn't even question it. I didn't go into, well, how are we going to do this? And when's this going to happen? And all this. I just let it be. I marinated with it for a second and I was like, okay, clearly there's something to that. Let me just put it in my metaphorical back pocket. She went about her day. She probably doesn't even know that I existed. I boarded the plane and we all went our separate ways. Life continued. I didn't really think much of it. I didn't really do anything with it until a couple of months later when I was at the airport yet again. And wouldn't you know, I see another CVS Health employee with a polo shirt with the logo embroidered on it as I passed them as we're just walking through the airport. And I was like, okay, listen, clearly there is something to this that I need to be paying attention to. Could we chalk it up to being a coincidence? Maybe. But I'm in such a deep, firm belief that when something is for you, it's going to start showing itself. And what's the harm in believing in opportunity? I mean, seriously, like, why would I be like, no, I can't do this? Or, oh, that means nothing. There's so much more opportunity and so much more positivity and just goodness in saying, well, what if there's actually something really good behind this? It's really, really easy to think negative shit, isn't it? I mean, that sometimes comes second nature. So sometimes it requires a little bit of oomph to lean into the possibility, but why not? If I can generate crappy thoughts that make me feel like a turd, I can also generate positive thoughts and interesting thoughts that have me feeling curious, that have me feeling optimistic. Like, hey, something great could actually come of this. I'm not 100% at it, but I put my damnedest into that type of energy and that type of mentality because that opens up the door for opportunity. I prefer to stay alert to what's possible for my growth instead of waiting for things to freaking fall apart. Now, at this point, I've got foundations in the speaking world, right? I've got my systems and processes in place. I've got my keynote outlined. Like, I'm starting to pitch places. I'm being very intentional. And I'm on LinkedIn and I start looking for people that work at CVS Health. I'm like, okay, the only way to get to these folks is to know some of them, right? Like I have to build some kind of a relationship. I have to get to know them. I have to let them know that I exist. Side note here, there's that whole concept, if you build it, they will come. Not if they don't know that you exist. So you have to still put yourself out there, whether that's in social media or raising your hand or asking a question or introducing yourself. You have to let people know that you exist. This creates relationships. Relationships open doors. Doors create opportunity. Fast forward a few more months, and I speak at an incredible event in New York City called Curiosity Connections. We had a fantastic time. It was an awesome, awesome event. Really, really incredible event hosts and women. Just as a whole, these are great people. And when I got back to Pennsylvania and I started to do my LinkedIn thing again, I noticed that one of the women that run Curiosity Connections also happened to be connected with the same woman at CVS Health that I was. I got that kind of nudge again, that little pull, that little voice that was like, Laura, what if you just asked her if she could introduce you to her? Now, this is the point where the brain wants to get squirrely. You overthink things and what's the right thing to say and how do I say it? And I don't want to be this and I don't want to impose and I don't want to be pushy and all. It's like, okay, hold on. There's an appropriate way to do things. You can be all salesy and weird and dry and come across like really abrupt, or you can just continue to have a relationship. So I just simply reached out to her and I said, hey, I noticed we're both connected to this gal. Would you be open to making a connection? And she very quickly responded with, I'd love to do that. I don't know her personally, but we shared some space together. What are some things that you would be helpful to share with her. I'd love to make a connection. A few days later, she made that connection, and the gal and I at CVS Health hit it off right away. She was super interested in how the Gutsy Moves keynote could impact their team to make those moves, to lean in, to trust themselves, to have confidence, to really take that initiative. She shared it with the leadership team, got a total buy-in, a yes across the board. They requested a proposal, and a few weeks later, it was accepted. Just a few weeks ago, I delivered the Gutsy Moves keynote virtually to 1,000 of their employees. They invested in their team at my full rate, and now this is my largest audience to date. From the very first interaction with the gal in the airport to the time that I delivered the keynote was about 2 years. But you know something? It happened. It happened. That very subtle voice, but that very confident voice that I felt in my body, it knew. It knew what future Laura Ora was about to do. It wanted me to start seeing the signs and the cues. It wanted me to start believing. It wanted me to start directing some of my energy, a little bit of my effort, some of my intention in that direction. See, just because you get an intuitive hit or a pull towards something doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately. And I think that that's where a lot of people fall off, is because there's no patience. There's no patience in building something that's bigger, that's sustainable, that has meaning, that has impact. Honestly, if that opportunity would have showed up 6 weeks later after that very first interaction, I would not have been ready. I didn't have my keynote outlined. I didn't know what my core message was going to be yet. My brain was all over the place. I was pretty emotionally spent, so I just wouldn't have had the right energy to even show up for these people. I was finishing a chapter and I was about to start a new one, but I was not ready to deliver a message to 1,000 people in that moment or even shortly thereafter. See, your intuition is like your soul's way of giving you breadcrumbs. And sometimes that stuff does happen immediately. I'm not saying it has to take forever. Sometimes the right thing happens in the right moment and it's just there. But the bigger things, the stuff that you're working on and towards, the expansion that you're leaning into, sometimes trusting yourself takes time. And I know you want it done today because it would be easier, but what if you're not ready today? What if you're still on the journey, gathering information, building the right connections, having the tools and the resources that you need to be able to show up fully, embodied with everything that you have in the time in which you're supposed to? Sometimes these cues are giving you a pinpoint of a direction. In my case, my intuition was like, Laura, I just want you to start noticing CVS Health. And the real trick here is to not run at it, is to not force it, is to not how it to death. How am I going to do this? And when am I going to do this? And I got to do it. Oh, woo. Listen, the universe will be like, oh, she's not ready yet. She needs some time. We're just going to hold this until you maybe settle down for a second, and then we'll bring it back into the picture. Now we can rediscuss it again. There is no possible way that I could have forced or planned speaking in New York a couple months later, making an amazing connection that also happened to have the connection at CVS that I was hoping to talk to that would then lead to this. I can't curate that. I have to get out of the way. But I did take intentional steps. I applied to speak at the event in New York City. I made the connections and started building relationships on LinkedIn. I continued to notice this little tiny pinpoint that was starting to get bigger and brighter. This really, truly is how great things are built, with intention, with focus, with connection and community. And I know all of our favorite, with patience. Listen, I will be the first to admit that patience is not my number one, okay? I have to work on this. But I also have learned that when I try to force something, when I try to control something, when I try to how something to death, I am delaying my result. My job, your job, is to stay focused on the bigger picture, on the bigger why, and to take small yet very intentional steps towards it on a regular basis. You'll know when it's time to leap, right? Like a leap moment in this particular story is when I realized that we both had a mutual connection. A leap moment is, hey, I'm going to go out on an edge here. I'm going to make a gutsy move and I'm going to ask for a connection. I'm asking essentially for a referral here. None of this would have happened if I wouldn't have taken that leap. And I have to also tell you that one of the coolest parts about this is it's not just numbers. It's not just how many people were in the audience. It's not having a Fortune 500 company logo on my website. All of those are fantastic things, not discounting them. But honestly, the greatest pride that I have, two things, is one, the impact that this talk had on the audience. One person said that this was inspiring and motivational and taught me how to take control of my life. Another said that this was a life-changing experience for them, that this timing was impeccable, and she was incredibly grateful. Another person said that they learned strategies to learn how to shift their brain and make decisions that make them happy. Another employee said that they were going to go after the job opening that they had been hesitating applying for. And these are just a few of the hundreds of comments received after this talk. And I just think that that's so incredibly powerful because it shows the impact of trusting yourself. Because when you are doing what you were put on this earth to do, you are trusting your abilities, you are leaning in, you're making those moves. Friend, when you are in your magic, you create a ripple effect that you will never be able to quantify. Me trusting that single sentence that I felt in my body 2 years ago has now created life-changing experiences for people. Like I can't even wrap my head around that sometimes. It just fills me with so much love and appreciation for the work that I get to do. But I get to do this work because I chose to do this work. I chose to do this work because I trusted myself to do this work. Do you see how all of this is connected? So the first thing that makes me incredibly proud is that this work is creating an impact. It's helping people to get past the point where they would typically stop. It's helping them to get out of their own way, to pursue the things that they really want to do, to stop settling, to trust in their ability to figure shit out. Trusting myself is allowing other people to trust themselves. And only greatness can come from that. The second thing that makes me incredibly proud about this whole situation, this whole story, is that I listened, that I proved to myself what I'm capable of, that what I teach other people is not just a thought or a theory or a wish or maybe happens to some people. This is real work that changes real lives. And I'm proud of myself for practicing it. For saying, you know what, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to play the long game because I'm not here for a firework moment. I'm here to create a ripple effect of impact. You already know the answers. Some might not be crystal clear. Some might be still in the works, but you know what it's time to do. What it's time to lean into, what it's time to get curious about, what it's time to arm yourself with information or ask questions or ask for help with. Friend, you were not put on this earth to settle either. And getting the things that you want require you to do things you've never done before. It requires you to get uncomfortable, to say, I don't know, and sometimes to play the long game. But I want you to hear me loudly, clearly, and with my whole ass involved. Your intuition is forever guiding you. Your only job is to listen. As we wrap up here today, I want to leave you with a few cues to know the difference between your intuition and your anxiety. Because sometimes Mr. and Mrs. Anxiety love to get involved to make this shit more complicated than it needs to be. And some people were like, is this my intuition? Is this my anxiety? Am I excited? Should I hold back? So here's just a few things for you to gauge. Is this intuition or is this anxiety trying to ruin the day? Your intuition speaks in sentences and phrases. Think periods. Remember back to what I heard? You're going to work with them, period. Your anxiety, on the other hand, often speaks to you in questions. Can I do this? Who am I to do that? it leaves you questioning things instead of wanting to lean into it. Second, your intuition is usually calm, rather uneventful, and fairly direct. It often speaks in a whisper, almost like a passing thought, almost so quick that you could miss it. Now, I will put a little caveat in here. The only time it's going to get loud or a little bit more in your face is when it's time to do something about it and you've not yet taken action. That's usually when we get punched in the face and we have to do something. Okay, we like to avoid those moments. Sometimes they're inevitable, but most of the time, your intuition speaks very calmly, very directly, and without really kind of any emotion or feeling. Your anxiety, on the other hand, is usually chaotic. It's noisy. It creates confusion. It creates this feeling in your body of like there's turmoil. That's your brain trying to do its brain thing, okay? That's not the thing to follow. And lastly, your intuition often leaves you feeling curious. I want to know more. You have my attention. Ooh, what's behind this door? Whereas your anxiety typically leaves you feeling overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm feeling anxious. There's a lot happening. I don't know how to do this, right? Like you leave it kind of feeling like, ugh, like I'm worse off because of it. That's your anxiety, my friend. It's trying to make things more complicated than it needs to be. Start to use these 3 fairly simple kind of gauges to know like, hey, is this something that I am ready and need to follow? Or is this my brain trying to be a turd and making things more complicated? It's just a nice gauge. And the best way to get to know your intuition is to work with it. It is literally, truly like a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. My intuition is sharp with a capital S, okay? Sharp. But that's only because I use it all the time. I've also not trusted it enough times to know that I need to trust it. By the way, trusting yourself is always a huge theme in the work that we do inside both the Gutsy Collective and inside of Auraline, which is my mastermind for women. So if you want to strengthen that muscle and be supported while you're learning how to do that, then I would encourage you to go to my website, lauraaura.com, to learn about the different ways that I can support you. And lastly, if you are an event planner or you lead teams and you are looking for an activating speaker to get people moving, I would love to chat with you. You can learn more about my Gutsy Talks, Gutsy Moves, Gutsy Leadership, and Gutsy Women at lauraaura.com/speaking. All right, my friend, that is it for the day. Go off, do the things that you feel called to do. Trust yourself as you're doing it. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.